So a question that I often get is, what did I do wrong when I initially went vegan? And apparently there's a lot of confusion about this. Some people actually believe that I followed Durian Rider's advice, which is not the case. So to get rid of all the confusion, I'll do a video about it in depth. I have talked about it in the past, but yeah, you would have to dig around a little bit to find that information about me. So now I'll just do a video about it in depth. So let's start from the very beginning. When I wanted to go vegan, I had been a flexitarian for a long time. And I decided, let's give veganism a try, because this flexitarian thing is so easy. How hard would veganism be? So I wanted to get my information from an expert. And the expert of my choice was Dr. Greger. He seemed like an educated guy in the field of nutrition. And he has very interesting stuff. He has very interesting videos. So I decided, let's see what he has to say about it. So he promotes a low-fat diet, and I don't think that he does it from the perspective of that fat is bad for us necessarily. It just isn't really that necessary, and sugar is a lot easier for us to come by. So he basically says that if you eat a handful of walnuts and 2 tablespoons of flax seeds, you will get all the fat you need. So back then I was convinced that saturated fat was bad, as so many vegans believe, and I never had even heard about monounsaturated fat like so many, and I think that most of us don't know what monounsaturated fat is and why it is so important for us to actually get it. So I was simply convinced, oh, fat is not a big deal, don't worry about fat, just eat a lot of dates, just eat a lot of fruit. The only thing that people like Freely and Durian Rider really had to do with my choices was that I wanted to have some reference from people that were doing a low-fat diet that were seemingly thriving. And well, I guess that at the time I thought that, hey, Durian Rider seems like a very fit and active guy, and I've actually made a video about this, why I think that they look very fit. Well, anyone that knows Durian Rider for a longer time knows that he isn't fit at all, that he doesn't come off as healthy and fit and all. But he probably has great stamina, don't get me wrong, but other than that, his mental health and his physical health is clearly not great. And I've done a video about this, you can find it in the description below, where I explain why I think that they are seemingly healthy. So that was all that Durian Rider, or really the high carb, low fat community had to do with my choice of going on a low fat diet. Now, I was not at all convinced that lowering my protein intake would be beneficial, especially for someone that was into weightlifting. So I never lowered my protein intake. Well, I guess that I lowered it a little bit by going vegan and just cutting out all animal products. But other than that, I did not go on some fruitarian-styled diet where my dinner consists of nothing but potatoes and pasta with tomato juice or whatever. So, yeah. I was eating a ton of dates, around 800 grams of them. And I could easily fit this in my stomach because I was hungry all the time. I was hungry all the time because I simply was craving fat, and I did not realize that back then. And yeah, I was eating dates, some apples, some oranges and kiwis. For fats, I was eating hemp seeds and chia seeds. And for my dinner, I would eat the same every day, which would be canned beans, broccoli, a red bell pepper, an onion, and portobello mushrooms. And that was what I would eat. And of course a B12 supplement as well. And essentially I was eating the same every single day. So the reason that I was doing that was because I wanted to eat as clean as possible. I wanted to eliminate all the foods that would give me some type of issue. And that would bring up some form of intolerance within me. And the problem by doing this is that you will only make your body more sensitive to pretty much all foods. There was a time where I could not even eat a cabbage without getting an upset stomach. So this, I think, also had something to do with lowering my fat intake this much. And I think that this is because I think that monounsaturated fat has an important function when it comes to improving allergies and intolerances. So yeah, I barely got any saturated or monounsaturated fat, so of course I became very sensitive to all kinds of foods. Now, there was some variety in my diet. I mean, on some days I would be having pumpkin seeds or sunflower seeds. I would have other types of beans as well. So there was some variety. Now, when I was really studying nutrition, I wanted to make sure that I was getting all my vitamins and minerals. So the diet that I was following back then actually gave me a very complete profile of all my vitamins and minerals. And this made me very confused, of course, because my health was getting worse and I had no idea what was going on. But one thing that I figured out was that I was probably deficient in iodine. So I started to supplement that. Before I started to supplement it, I followed the advice of getting your iodine through seaweed, which is something that Dr. Greger recommends. And while you can get enough iodine from seaweed, wakame, nori, or dulse, the big problem with this is that you can never know how much iodine is actually in there. And the same problem kind of exists with things like Brazil nuts for your selenium needs. But with iodine from seaweed is actually even a lot more tricky. So you could be eating 10 grams of seaweed and you could be getting like 40 micrograms of iodine, or you could be eating half a gram and you could get like 10 times the daily limit for iodine or something insane like that. You could actually overdose from taking like a gram. You never know how much you get, so I started to supplement that. And another thing that it seems to be something that is really related to guys in our family, in my genetic line, is that we tend to be deficient in zinc. We simply require a zinc supplement to get enough zinc. So I could even get like 20 milligrams of zinc through diet. It would still not be enough, even though that is way more than what you would usually require to stay healthy. The thing is just that for some reason, again, guys in my family require just that much more zinc. Why? I don't know. It's been in the family for a while now. So yeah, I started to supplement more things basically, and that also cleared up a lot of things. So I was still unhealthy at that point, and I think that eventually I found out about a channel, Corey McCarty, and he actually talked about the importance of fat and how vegans should actually be getting 20% of their maintenance calories from fat. And this does make a lot more sense. Many monkeys, many primates actually get more fat than just recommended 10% by many of these diet gurus. So I started to eat around 15% of my daily calories from fat, and I started to eat macadamia nuts, avocados, eventually also coconut, and my health quickly improved. But again, like I've said, it still took a very long time to completely recover from all the problems that I had faced, especially mentally. It took a long time to just really become a grounded guy again. Because what is very interesting about these low-fat diets is, like, again, I said, like, the biggest problem, or, a really big problem with this is, like, people like Dr. Greger, they bring forward studies that show that fruit consumption is really good for heart health, preventing stroke, preventing cancer, preventing diabetes. And they present it as a study of like, you can eat unlimited fruit and you will get perfect health. The thing, the big problem with this is that while these things might be true, we would also have to look at the results that, what would happen with hormone health. Because I can guarantee you that if you're going to limit your fat, your hormone levels will suffer. And that's the biggest problem from doing these low-fat diets. And you can tell this when you look at a lot of the guys that do these diets, is that they become, not straight up feminine, but they become very emotional, they become very soft, and essentially speaking, they become less of a man. And I can definitely say that I experienced this as well. Now, there are maybe some exceptions, like someone like Durian Rider that just uses steroids. That guy will probably not really suffer hormonally because he takes steroids. And I think that Ryan from Happy Healthy Vegan comes off as a chill, relaxed guy and not like some emotional bungee ball of energy that is just fucked up in the head. So there are a few exceptions, and sometimes there's a very reasonable explanation for this, and sometimes there is not an explanation that I have for it. But I can tell you that most guys that do this, they will suffer. Another interesting thing is that when I was really starting to become desperate because my health was suffering, I had a weak moment where I was actually going to look at what the Raw Till 4 community usually advises in a moment like this. And of course, Freely's answer for everything was, if you feel like shit, just eat even more sugar. So, being the retard that I was back then, I started to eat even more sugar and I cut out all the fat that I was eating, because apparently that is the answer that they have for this. And surprise, surprise, my health got horrible in a few days. And the only thing that really could improve my situation was actually eating more fat. So thank God I found Corey McCarty, and that he smacked some sense into me and made me realize that fat is in fact important, and it is important for vegans, yes. It is absolutely true that you can become a very feminine guy on a plant-based diet, but it's usually not because of phytoestrogens or because we eat so much sugar. It is because we lower our fat intake. That is the single most devastating diet principle that you can take as a vegan, that you can do as a vegan. Well, I guess that, you could also be a low-carb vegan, and that is also pretty darn bad, maybe even worse. But what most vegans do wrong is just limit their fat. And like I said, I became a very soft guy, not straight up a pussy or a very feminine guy, but like an emotionally feeling, more sensitive guy. There's nothing wrong with being a little bit sensitive, but for me it was probably, a line that should not be crossed as a guy. And again, this does not happen because of phytoestrogens, because I actually was not eating soy back then. I actually started to eat soy, and for some reason that improved my hormone levels, for whatever reason. So the phytoestrogens actually did something good, apparently. So yeah, if you are some prick that wants to become a vegan just to get some attention from other vegan girls, then don't do the low carb or don't do the low fat thing, because I can guarantee you that girls are not into that. I can tell you from first-hand experience when I was doing that women actually became a lot less interested in me. So don't limit your fat, because you'll become less of a man. You really do. And I'm not talking necessarily about sex health or libido, but you will just become more of a girl. That's essentially what it is. So yeah, now what am I doing now these days? Well, I still eat a lot of sugar. I eat more protein simply because I have to gain some extra, some extra muscle mass. So I now eat beans from a package, not from cans anymore, which is a lot better. And also, I don't count how much fat I eat, but it's around 100 grams of fat, I'd say. And most of it comes from monounsaturated and saturated fat from plant sources, of course. So coconut, macadamians, avocados. And I thrive very well on that. And that's what I would recommend most vegans to try out. So that's the video. I thank you all for watching. I'll show you what I'll eat in the video I'll do tomorrow. I have 2 videos planned. So tomorrow you will see what I eat in a normal, usual day. And then also I will bring out a recipe for one of the things that I eat. Thank you all for watching.